Introduction. Mating in Captivity explores one of the most common problems faced by couples. Even when lovers love each other deeply, their sexual desire and passion can fade over time. Many people in long-term relationships find that their emotional connection stays strong or even deepens, but their erotic life becomes dull or disappears altogether. Perel asks a simple but profound question. Why does passion sometimes die even when love stays alive? To answer this, she looks at the nature of desire, how modern relationships have changed, how our personal histories shape our sexuality, and what we can learn about keeping erotic energy alive within committed love. Perel doesn't offer a quick sex manual or a set of rules you can follow step by step. Instead, she encourages readers to think differently about what desire is, how it relates to intimacy, and how we can balance our deepest longings for closeness with our need for separateness and mystery. Mating in Captivity challenges some common beliefs about love, intimacy, sex, and partnership, and it invites couples to embrace complexity rather than looking for simple formulas. In this long summary, you'll get the core ideas of the book in plain language. The writing below stays close to the spirit of Perel's insights while explaining them in a way that is easy to follow. You'll learn why desire and intimacy sometimes clash, how personal history influences erotic life, how cultural expectations shape our relationships, and what possibilities exist for keeping passion alive over the long haul. Love, desire, and the paradox at the heart of relationships. One of the key things Perel emphasizes is that love and desire are not the same thing. Most people assume that if they love their partner deeply, their desire for them will grow or stay strong. But love, security, and emotional closeness can actually be at odds with erotic desire. Love is about comfort, belonging, stability, safety, and familiarity. Desire, on the other hand, thrives on mystery, unpredictability, separateness, and surprise. These are not always easy to maintain once a relationship becomes stable and everyday life takes over. Perel points out a paradox that many couples experience. When partners become very close emotionally, when they share their thoughts openly, when daily routines bring them together, and when they feel completely secure with one another, the erotic spark often fades. This happens because the conditions that nurture love, closeness, predictability, and safety, can unintentionally weaken the conditions that nurture erotic desire, distance, mystery, and the unknown. In the early stages of a relationship, partners still have some degree of mystery because they are discovering each other. Over time, that mystery fades as familiarity grows. Perel argues that desire is fueled by a tension between closeness and distance. People want to feel close to their partner, but they also need a sense of individuality. If two people fuse completely, they merge every part of their lives, abandon their personal interests, and become indistinguishable from one another. There is no otherness left to explore. That sense of other is at the heart of erotic attraction. Without it, desire may diminish. One clear way Perel illustrates this idea is through stories from her therapy practice. She describes couples who adore each other, who share everything and feel deeply connected, yet they no longer feel sexual desire. They love their partner's warmth and predictability, but they miss the thrill of the unknown and the surprise that once came so naturally. These couples often feel stuck in roles, caretaker, parent, roommate, rather than lovers. Perel suggests that to maintain the erotic spark, partners must not only love each other, but also preserve parts of themselves that remain unpredictable, adventurous, and uncharted by routine. This idea may sound counterintuitive at first, especially because modern relationship guides emphasize that closeness and emotional openness are the keys to intimacy. But Perel explains that while closeness is essential for love, too much closeness without separateness can diminish desire. In other words, love should not mean becoming a single unit, it should mean two individuals choosing to connect with one another. Perel makes it clear that desire is not something that simply happens on its own. It needs space to breathe. And that space comes from maintaining a sense of one's own self, interests, passions, and experiences that are not entirely shared with one's partner. Drawn together but not fused, partners retain the mystery and unpredictability that help desire continue. The conflict between security and excitement. Perel describes how modern relationships often expect one person to provide everything: emotional support, friendship, sexual excitement, intellectual stimulation, financial security, and more. This is a tall order for any one partner or any one relationship. In the past, communities offered many of these supports: extended family, social networks, shared rituals. But today, many couples find themselves isolated, with only each other to meet all needs. This puts enormous pressure on partners and can unintentionally strangle erotic energy. The desire for security and stability is natural and healthy. We seek partners who make us feel safe, loved, and supported. But this very desire for safety can work contrary to erotic desire, which thrives on mystery, risk, imagination, and the unexpected. Once life becomes comfortable and predictable, mortgage, bills, kids, routines, desire can take a back seat if conscious effort is not made to keep erotic energy alive. Perel uses the idea of novelty versus familiarity to explain why desire can wither as relationships settle into routine. When partners are just getting to know each other, each encounter contains novelty. Partners learn new things about each other, experience unexpected moments, and are often excited by what they don't yet fully understand. This novelty naturally stimulates desire. But as familiarity sets in, the unknown becomes known. The surprise diminishes, and without mystery or gaps to fill with imagination, erotic energy can fade. In Perel's view, desire requires a kind of distance, not physical separation, but psychological space that allows partners to remain distinct from each other. When people become too enmeshed or overfamiliar, the sense of other can disappear. Desire, which thrives on that sense of otherness, may diminish as a result. Communication, intimacy, and erotic intelligence. Modern relationships often emphasize communication as the central tool for building intimacy. We are encouraged to talk openly about our feelings and needs, to express ourselves verbally, to share every thought. But in Perel's view, while communication is important, it is not the only language of intimacy. In fact, an overemphasis on verbal communication can sometimes work against erotic desire. When partners share everything verbally, they may feel comfortable and safe, but they've also eliminated mystery, nuance, and the unspoken. Perel suggests that intimacy can also be expressed through nonverbal ways, through shared experiences, gestures, touch, play, humor, and physical connection. In other words, words are not the only and sometimes not the best way to build erotic closeness. Perel encourages couples to learn multiple languages of intimacy, including emotional, physical, playful, and sensual communication. Erotic intelligence, the ability to maintain desire and passion, requires understanding how to connect on multiple levels, not just talking about feelings. It means creating moments of surprise, playfulness, fantasy, and exploration that go beyond routine conversation. Communication about desires and fears is useful, but the erotic self also speaks through silence, mystery, and embodied experience. Opening space for these aspects can help couples deepen both their emotional and sexual connection without letting one undermine the other. The limits of equality in erotic life. Perel also explores how modern ideals like egalitarianism, fairness, and equal partnership shape sexual life, sometimes in ways that diminish erotic excitement. Egalitarian values are essential for healthy, respectful relationships outside the bedroom. But when these principles are applied rigidly within the erotic realm, they can unintentionally stifle desire. Eroticism often involves power, surrender, dominance, play, and fantasy, experiences that are not always equal in a strict sense. In everyday life, equality means sharing responsibilities, making decisions together, and eliminating hierarchy. But erotic play can involve consensual power dynamics, role-playing, vulnerability, and other elements that defy simple notions of equality. For some people, erotic excitement comes from experiences that are unexpected, unbalanced, or even politically incorrect outside the bedroom. Perel encourages couples to explore these dimensions with consent, curiosity, and respect, recognizing that erotic life sometimes thrives on tension, unpredictability, and playful transgression. Erotic intelligence means understanding the difference between power as coercion and power as shared, consensual exploration that energizes desire. How childhood and personal history shape desire. Another important theme in mating in captivity is the idea that our earliest experiences, our family relationships, upbringing, and early emotional patterns deeply influence how we experience intimacy and desire as adults. Perel calls these our erotic blueprints. The way